Hello, May class, and welcome to your final maths lesson this week. This week we have been focusing on fractions, and we've been looking at adding fractions. We first were looking at adding just two fractions, and then we were looking at adding more than two fractions, but obviously with the same denominator. In today's lesson, we are moving on a little bit, and we will be looking at subtracting fractions and using a bar model to help us with that. So before we continue with that, can you please pause the video now and answer your 10 arithmetic questions? And then when you unpause the video, I will have the answers up and then we can go through them. So pause the video now and complete the work in front of you. Okay, let's go through our answers. 3 times 6 is 18. 4,563 plus 3,333 is 7,896. Today's date as a Roman numeral is XII for 12, II for 2, and MMXXI for 2021. What number is next in the sequence? We have 45, 34, 23. The next number is 12. Because they are going, you are descending by 11 every time. 5 times 7 is 35. 44 divided by 4 is 11. What is 50 millimeters in centimeters? It is 5 centimeters. What is 500 meters in kilometers? Now I've written two answers here because it is 0.5 kilometers, because we know that a kilometer is 1,000 meters and 500 meters is only half the amount. So I've written half a kilometer. But I've also written 0.5. If you're writing in decimals, 0.5 is the same as 1/2. What is 11:35 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? It is 23:35. And what is 36 divided by 6 is 6. So pause the video now if you need to check the answers, or just tick the ones that you've got correct, or put a dot on the ones that you've got incorrect and correct them. Right, so as mentioned before, we are looking at subtracting fractions today. So I want you to think about how many different ways you can find to solve this calculation. So you're adding two numbers together and your final answer is 11/9. What could these two questions be? What could your denominators be? So pause the video now and have a look. As previously mentioned, if we were adding things together, then the denominators need to be the same. So both of these would need to be 9. And then at the top, we would just have numbers that would equal 11. So we could have 5 plus 6. You could have 4 plus 7. You could have 3 plus 8, 2 plus 9. You could have, and then you would just have a variation of those. You could also have actually 1 plus 10. So either one, any of these combinations of numbers could be written above your 9th fraction that is there. And if you add them all together, they would give you 11. And then you would have that over 9. Right, we can also subtract fractions. So just like we can add fractions, we can subtract fractions. I want you to think, do you think there are any similarities between subtracting and adding fractions? What do you think we need to be able to do when we're adding or subtracting fractions? So the answer is yes. Right, just like when we were adding, you do not subtract the denominators. The denominator stays the same. So let's have a look. And we're going to fill in the missing numbers. I'm going to fill them in here because that's very small there. So first we're starting off, we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 in total, of which 4 are colored in. And we can see that we are minusing 2. So there's 1, 2. So we're minusing 2 fifths. Okay. And our answer that we are left with is 2/5. So if you have a look at that, what has happened to those fractions to get us to 2/5? Right, if you said, well, we've just minus the numerator and the denominator stayed the same, you are correct. So using the models that have been given to you, I want you to complete these questions. So the starting point would be 5/7, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, of which you are minusing 2/7. This one, you are starting with 4/8. There's the 4/8 there. And you are minusing however many you have here, and you are left with 1/8 there. And then you will complete this question as well, where you have something minus something, and you are left with 1, 2, 3, 4. You are left with 4/8. So what could the question be? So pause the video now and complete these questions. Right, now it's your turn. You're going to use a bar model to work out these questions. I'm going to draw our bar model so you can see. It is made up, and I'm going to make it nice and big, of 8. So we're going to equally do this into 8s, or as equal as I can without a ruler. I'm just to measure, but I'm going to try and equally spread these. With 4, 9, okay. So what you will notice though is that actually some of our numbers, for example, the one at the bottom, is actually more than one whole. We have 16/8 in that one. So I'm going to separate these so that we have 16/8. But we would only be able to, we could just use 1 for these ones. So for example, this one would be 8. So we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you would cross out, and we could use a different color. 1, 2, 3, because we're minusing 3. How many are we left with? If you were doing it with 7/8, you would do the same, and then 16/8, you would do the same. So pause the video now and complete these questions. Okay, so, oh, sorry. Right, your independent tasks are as follows. You will complete the bar model that is given to you. So 2/3 minus 1/3. Question B, 2/5 minus 1/5. Question C, 3/5 minus 1/5. And question D, 4/5 minus 1/5. With the subtraction questions, you're going to simplify where possible. Remember, we have briefly spoken about simplifying a fraction, but you have got 7/10 minus 1/10, 7/12 minus 3/12, 9/59 minus 5/59, 7/10 minus 2/10, 8/12 minus 4/12, 13 127 minus 9 127, 7/10 minus 3/10, 9/12 minus 5/12. And the third question, right, you are going to write the missing numerator. So you need to read your question and you need to fill in the number that is missing. Remember what I said yesterday about filling it in with a different color and making sure that your number makes sense. Also, remember when it comes to these types of questions that what is on one side of your equal sign has to be the same as what's on the other side. That's what that question means. So for example, question E says 7/10 minus 5/10 is the same as 1/10 plus something else, right? That means that on either side of your equal question, your equal sign has to be the same number. Okay. Don't forget to share your work with us on Tapestry. Please make sure that you have uploaded your work by 4 o'clock this afternoon.